SVG's Jason Dachman. We are at the SVG Summit back in person in New York City, and I'm with a good friend of SVG, a member of our executive board, Mike Connelly of Bally Sports Regional Networks. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Jason. Good to be here.
So you guys have had, goodness gracious, a couple of years to say the least. Everybody has, but you guys really have. So way back when, obviously, the large group of RSNs went through an acquisition, and you guys went through a rebrand. You're now Bally Sports. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to launch an entirely new group of networks under a new brand during a pandemic.
The actual process of launching the network was exciting. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of something, someone in my position looks forward to, right? It's a new challenge. Could be one of the biggest rebranding of any network, any time in the history of television.
Sports or otherwise.
Correct. And it's really kind of a funny story because I think if the COVID shutdown didn't happen, it would have been a lot more difficult to launch this network, but the shutdown actually gave us time to build the new look, the new brand. And so we were on hold for a little while, but while we were on hold, we had to hire about 30 or 40 people, like graphics department, music department, get all the people in place, get the infrastructure in place, the equipment, the capital, the computers, software, whatever it is, but it gave us time to build this infrastructure. And then when finally they, came up with Bally Sports, the name, all we had to do was say go, and we went. And, luckily enough, the launch was less dramatic than we thought it would be. It was pretty smooth.
Right, but that's because you were at the starting line. You had everything set up, and all you needed was, what's that logo look like?
That's all we needed was a logo and a name, but we were ready to go. And there were other things on the table, too, in terms of names and logos.
Sure.
And when Bally's came to the forefront, then we just adjusted and moved forward, and it was a quick launch.
Sure. Well, the Bally's rebrand isn't the only major adjustment you guys have had to undergo. Obviously, the regional sports networks have had to deal with innumerable challenges when it comes to live productions. When COVID hit, obviously, the side-by-side, the dual model, everything that the business is built on had to adjust, and you guys did so accordingly, first with a bit of a world feed model, but now you guys are looking for what's the future of these dual productions looks like. So tell us a little bit about that development and how far you guys are along with those systems.
So theoretically, we had this new way of producing games on paper, and we had it all laid out. We had been working on it for years, and that's what eventually turned into cloud control. And we needed to look for the next dual feed. We always said, what is the next dual feed? What's the next version of a dual feed? And that is, okay, we want to be able to produce games anywhere from any place. And through years at Fox, we came up with the Venue Access Network, which is a IP interconnectivity of all the sports venues in North America. And once we got that transmission system in place, we realized we can pretty much do anything we want. We can move data around, we can move content around like effortlessly. So what would we do with that? So that's where the cloud control came up, because we were always talking about centralized control rooms, right? Because it kind of, when you think about it, it makes sense, right? But doing it is a heck of a lot more of a bigger challenge, and there's a lot of capital involved. So we came up with this cloud control system. When the pandemic hit on that early March, we had a meeting and we said, hey, this is an opportunity. We can kind of get this going because we're going to need to do something. And so we did. And we set it up and we did some tests. We did some tests with altitude. We did some tests with some of our regions, and it worked great. I mean, better than we thought it would. And so now we're putting that system in every RSN. And we need to build the infrastructure for an IP network, because the idea is we want to be able to plug into a remote truck anywhere in the world. We want to be able to just plug into that truck and be able to do whatever it is that we want to do.
Right.
And that's the goal. That's the long-term goal.
Sure. So Bally Sports rebrand, launching essentially an entirely new remote production model. And then, by the way, you guys also have a new master control that launching at the Compass facility in Georgia. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's able to replace what was formerly the Woodlands for Fox Sports Regional Networks, and how it's coming along.
It's coming along well now, but as any sort of control center, it's a challenge to get to this point. And it was kind of a shotgun wedding type, launch, because we had to get out from Disney with the DOJ. We had to move on. And so we partnered up with Encompass to build a facility, and then we needed to move quickly. And we did move quickly. Some say maybe too quickly, but we didn't have a choice. And we did the launch last September. We moved, we started 1 region, 2 region, 3 regions, just kind of did a rollout. We did a shadow period where We just shadowed the Woodlands for a couple of weeks, almost a month, and then we flipped it and flipped the switch. And it's gone, not perfect. Nothing like that ever is going to go perfectly. But today it's going well. And part of the challenge that we had is we had to change over the linear broadcasts as well as the streaming broadcasts. And so that's a lot. And we had to sacrifice some things in order to make sure the first screen was intact. So the stream part took a big hit early on. But today I think they're doing really well. It's through repetition. When you're producing 5,000 events a year, you have no choice but to get better. And I think today they're doing really, really well. But in any sort of big launch like that, you're going to have your ups and downs.
Well, you're going to have your ups and downs considering everything that you guys were able to navigate over the last couple of years. Let's hope 2022 is a little smoother and maybe a little R&R for you, although I doubt it. So, Mike, thanks so much. Really, really appreciate you taking the time, and hope we get to see you more in person in 2022.
Yeah, let's hope so. It's kind of nice to see your face, not on a TV screen, Jason.
Right. Yeah, so many Zooms, so little FaceTime. Jason Dachman, live from the SVG Summit in New York City.